Imagine you're walking through a shopping mall. Perfectly normal Tuesday. You turn a corner and for just a second something feels wrong. The lighting is different. The carpet is yellow. The walls are covered in that ugly office wallpaper that nobody has used since 1987, and there is absolutely nobody else here. You call out. Your voice doesn't echo the way it should. It just gets absorbed by the walls and the carpet and the silence like it was never there at all. You try to find the way you came in, but every hallway looks identical. Every turn leads to another room that looks exactly like the last one. The fluorescent lights above you buzz at a frequency that feels like it's designed specifically to make you uncomfortable. And no matter how far you walk, there is no exit. No window, no door that leads anywhere different. Just more rooms, more carpet, more wallpaper, more buzzing. You just no-clipped out of reality and you are never coming back. For those who don't know, the Backrooms started as a single image posted on the internet in 2019. A grainy, unsettling photo of an empty office space with buzzing fluorescent lights and endless yellow walls. Someone added a caption. If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the Backrooms. That one post turned into one of the most elaborate and genuinely terrifying pieces of collaborative fiction the internet has ever produced. Millions of people have added to it, mapped it, named it, feared it, built entire mythologies around it. But what if it wasn't fiction? What if somewhere behind the walls of reality, there existed an infinite space, 300 million square miles of empty, buzzing yellow rooms that went on forever in every direction with no exits, no windows, no other people, and no way home? Let's think about what that actually means. First, who finds out? Not governments, not scientists, just regular people. A warehouse worker in Ohio clips through a wall reaching for a misplaced box. A teenager in Tokyo steps through a gap in a convenience store at 3 a.m. A woman in London walks into her bathroom and walks out somewhere else entirely. A child in Brazil chasing a ball through a gap in a fence simply never comes out the other side. There is no pattern to it, no map, no warning, no demographic that is more or less at risk. You don't know it can happen until it happens to you, and by then it is already too late. And when it does, you are completely alone. The Backrooms in their original form are not dangerous in an obvious way. There are no weapons, no traps, no locked doors, just space. Infinite, identical, suffocating space. The psychological effect of that alone would be catastrophic. Humans are not built for true isolation. Studies on solitary confinement show that after just 15 days, the average person begins experiencing hallucinations, paranoia, and severe cognitive deterioration. Sleep becomes impossible to regulate because there is no day or night, just the same relentless fluorescent buzz that never dims, never changes, never stops. Your body loses track of time within days. Your mind starts filling the silence with things that aren't there. Shapes in your peripheral vision. Sounds that stop the moment you try to listen to them. The feeling overwhelming and irrational and completely impossible to shake that something is behind you. Most people would lose their minds within weeks. But some wouldn't, and that's where it gets interesting. Because if the Backrooms were real and enough people fell into them, eventually a community would form. Survivors would find each other. They would map the levels. They would learn which areas were safe and which ones weren't. They would establish routes. They would develop signals, marks on the walls, arrangements of objects to communicate with other survivors they had never met. They would build something. Humans always build something. It is the one thing we do that nothing else does. We take a hostile environment and we refuse to accept it on its own terms. We name it, we organize it, we survive it. Think about every extreme environment humans have ever been placed in. The trenches of World War I, Antarctic research stations in the dead of winter, prison camps, solitary desert crossings. In every single one of these situations, without exception, the humans who survived longest were not the strongest or the fastest. They were the ones who found purpose, who created structure, who made meaning out of nothing. The Backrooms would be no different. There are accounts in Backrooms lore of exactly this settlements in the safer levels. Trading systems, hierarchies. People who have been there so long they no longer want to leave because the Backrooms have become the only world they know. They have forgotten what sunlight feels like, what wind feels like, what the smell of food cooking in a real kitchen feels like. The outside world has become the myth, and the Backrooms have become the reality. That detail is the most unsettling part of all of this. Not the monsters, Not the darkness, but the human capacity to adapt to absolutely anything, even infinite. Fluorescent, yellow hell. Now think about what this does to the world on the outside. People start disappearing with no explanation, no body, no crime scene, no goodbye. They are simply gone. First, it's one or two dismissed as missing persons cases. Then it's hundreds. Then thousands. Then a pattern emerges that nobody can explain and nobody wants to believe. Scientists begin noticing that the disappearances cluster around certain types of spaces. Liminal spaces. Empty shopping malls at closing time. Long corridors in office buildings late at night. Parking garages. Swimming pools after hours. Places that were built for people but exist in moments when there are none. The government doesn't know what to do because there is nothing to do. You cannot declare war on a gap in reality. You cannot legislate against no-clipping. You cannot build a wall between here and there. The entire framework of modern civilization, law enforcement, national security, emergency services is built on the assumption that when something bad happens, there is a location, a cause, and a solution. The backrooms have none of those things. So, what do governments actually do? The only thing they can. They lie. They classify the disappearances. They create cover stories. They tell the public that these people ran away or drowned or were taken by someone with a motive that makes sense within the normal rules of the world. Because the alternative, telling 8 billion people that reality has holes in it and anyone could fall through one at any moment, would cause a panic that no government on earth could contain. Religion explodes overnight. Every faith tradition on earth has a framework for a hidden world behind this one, and suddenly, that framework looks a lot less metaphorical. Church attendance doubles, then triples. People who hadn't prayed since childhood find themselves on their knees because the existence of a space behind reality that nobody designed and nobody controls and nobody can escape feels less like a scientific anomaly and more like something ancient and intentional, something that was always there, something that was always waiting. Science collapses into crisis because physics, as we understand it, has no room for this. The rules that have governed our understanding of space and matter and reality for 300 years simply do not account for a place you can accidentally walk into through the wall of a Walmart. Every assumption gets questioned. Every model gets rebuilt. The greatest minds on Earth turn their entire attention to a problem they cannot measure, cannot reproduce in a lab, and cannot solve. Philosophy goes completely insane trying to define what reality even means when you can accidentally fall out of it reaching for a box of cereal. And somewhere in those infinite yellow rooms, lit by lights that never turn off, carpeted in something that was never meant to last this long, buzzing with a frequency that feels almost like a language you were never meant to understand, people are surviving, mapping, building, adapting, leaving marks on walls for strangers they will never meet, keeping count of days that have no sunrise to confirm them, holding on to names and memories and faces that are getting harder to see clearly the longer they are here. Because that is what humans do. We were built for the light. But we survive in the dark. Even in the back rooms, even in the worst possible version of reality, even when there is no door marked exit and no voice telling you which way to go and no reason left to believe that the next corridor leads anywhere different than the last one, we keep going. Because somewhere in the architecture of the human soul, deeper than fear, deeper than reason, deeper than the instinct to give up, there is something that simply refuses to stop. And not even an infinite yellow room can take that from you.